Welcome back to the Sunny Stampin' Studio. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can color your frost white shimmer paint with re-inkers to achieve a variety of beautiful shimmery paint colors that you can then use to stamp your images. Why don't we get started? First thing you're going to need to do is to grab a 3x4 piece of Whisper White cardstock, which I punched with a spiral punch, and I've already sponged the edges with Tempting Turquoise and a wedge of stamping sponge. Now I'm going to put a little bit of Dotto adhesive on the back and just go ahead and stick that to my grid paper so it doesn't shift as I stamp. You're now going to need to grab the plastic imaging sheet from your Stamp-A-Majig, and I've already pre-stamped it with the Good Friend greeting, and this is from Stampin' Up's Good Friend stamp set. So I'm just going to position that on my Whisper White cardstock and put my T-tool up against it, and then I'm going to ink up my Good Friend stamp in Basic Black Classic ink and just stamp it at the bottom of my Whisper White cardstock. Once you've done that, you can just go ahead and set that to the side for 1 minute. The next thing you're going to need to grab is your frost white shimmer paint, and you want to make sure you give that a good shake. You're going to need some kind of a little palette. This is just from the dollar store. A couple of paint brushes and re-inkers. So I'm going to take Tempting Turquoise re-inker, and I'm going to put 2 drops in one of the wells of my palette, and then in another well I'm going to put 1 drop of pumpkin pie and 1 drop of summer sun. I'm then going to grab my shimmer paint, and again this is the frost white that I'm using, and one of my paint brushes, and I'm just very carefully going to pour a little bit into my well. Now I've let 3 drops fall in there so far, and I'm going to do the same with the summer sun and pumpkin pie. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm just going to use, before I dip my paintbrush in the color, I'm just going to use it to take out the excess paint from around the edge of my bottle. Now you're going to need 2 paintbrushes, one for the summer sun and pumpkin pie mixture, and you can see that I'm just giving that a nice mix. See how beautiful that is? I don't know how well the camera picks up the shimmer, but in real life it's absolutely gorgeous. And then I'm just going to put my paintbrush aside for a second, grab the other one, and I'm going to mix up the Tempting Turquoise. Okay, now that you've got your paint mixed, just grab your Whisper White cardstock piece again, and I'm just going to put, oh, I still have some Dotto on the back, so I'm just going to stick that down to my paper, and I'm going to grab the leg of the bird from the Good Friend stamp set and a sponge dauber. Now you just want to lightly pick up a little bit of the color, and I'm not actually dipping it right into the well, just on the side, because I don't want it to become too saturated. And then I'm just very gently and lightly going to pounce on my bird's leg. Once you've done that, you can very carefully stamp the first leg and then start inking it up again. And you see, I'm not even going back to my well of color because I have enough on my sponge dauber. One of the things I've found in working with this paint is that a little paint goes a long way. So there you have it, I have the 2 legs. So I'm now going to set this piece aside to dry. And then I'm going to grab a scrap piece of Whisper White cardstock. So you can now grab another sponge dauber, and this one's with the blue, and I'm just going to pounce that in the blue and then start pouncing it all over my bird. I I like to make sure that I mix a little bit more ink than I think I'm going to need just for my images, because if you have to go back and mix some more ink, it's really hard to get the same intensity of color. So I mix as much as I think I'll need, plus a little bit more, and then I'll just use it up until it's gone by stamping extra images. So you can see I've got my bird stamped. I'm now going to go back to this Summer Sun Pumpkin Pie mixture, pounce it on the beak, and stamp that on my cardstock. And then I'm going to grab this flower stamp, it's also from the same stamp, and cover that with the ink. Now the nice thing about this is you can stamp off so that you can get flowers of different shades. So you can see that, how you get a nice lighter color. So we're just going to set that aside to dry. Now normally, as I mentioned, I would just go on and keep stamping images on scrap paper until I've used all that up, because I don't want to have to waste any of it. You can now go ahead and grab your card base, and this is Tempting Turquoise 4 1/4 by 11 inch cardstock, which I've already folded in half. And I'm just going to take this sparkle stamp that's from that same Good Friends stamp set and just randomly stamp it on the top portion of my card. You're then going to grab a piece of DP that's 4 1/8 by 3 inches, and you just want to put some snail adhesive on the back, and then go ahead and center and stick that to the bottom of your card, like that. Now grab your white piece again, and here I have the bird, the flower, and the beak, which I've already pre-cut. And I'm just going to grab a foam mat and a paper piercing tool, and I'm going to pierce a hole in the center of the bird's eye, and I'm going to grab some brads. These are my black brads from my Vintage Brads collection, and just pop that into the bird's eye. Once you've done that, you're just going to grab some dimensionals and stick them on the back of your bird. And then you can go ahead and stick that to the white card piece. And as you can see, I'm covering up quite a bit of the legs. I don't want my bird to be too tall. And then the beak, I've already gone ahead and put Stampin' Dimensionals. And whenever I'm working with a small little piece like the beak, I actually cut my dimensionals into little pieces. So you can see I have that stuck there. Now go ahead and flip your Whisper White cardstock piece over, and I like to use, for the back of this, my scraps of my dimensionals. I keep these in a little bag so that when I have long pieces to do, I can just use the ends. Now my legs for my bird should be dry by now. I find that the shimmer paint takes about 5-10 minutes to dry, sometimes quicker. So you just want to position that. Actually, no, you know what? I have to put this aside for a sec because I have forgotten my ribbon. And this is a piece of pumpkin pie ribbon that's, I think, just over 8 inches. And I'm going to put some snail adhesive right there at the seam of my DP where it overlaps, or where it meets with the cardstock, so that the ribbon hides the end of it. And as you can see, I've stuck my ribbon ends to the snail adhesive. So now that that's done, I can now add my main image. And then the last thing I'm going to do is grab this flower that I had previously stamped and cut out, and I'm going to pierce a hole in the middle and grab a brad. These are actually called corduroy buttons, and it's the pumpkin pie. And there's 2 different sizes of brads and then 1 size of button. So I'm going to insert the smallest of the brads, open the prongs in the back, and then add your 2 dimensionals. And then you just stick your flower to the bottom of your card. There you have it. Fun, fast, easy, and another gorgeous technique. Look forward to stamping with you again.